The jump was always a jolt. A disorienting lurch as the universe folded around the Valkyrie, throwing it across the gulf of light-years in the blink of an eye. Captain Elara Voss gripped the arms of her command chair, her knuckles white against the worn leather. It was a familiar discomfort, one she'd grown accustomed to during her years in deep space exploration with United Earth Forces. But this mission felt different. A knot of unease tightened in her stomach, a feeling that wasn't just about the jump itself, but about what lay ahead. Vega. The frontier. And the Vega silence. Her briefing had been terse, sanitized, and ultimately unsatisfying. 2 colony ships, Prospector 1 and the Horizon Dawn, vanished without a trace. No distress signals, no debris fields, just nothing. The official line was investigation, but she sensed more. Secrets buried beneath layers of bureaucracy, denial, and fear. "We're through, Captain," Ensign Riva Juno's voice, crisp and clear, cut through the lingering hum of the warp drive. "All systems nominal. Location designated entry point into the Vega sector." Elara straightened, her gaze sweeping across the bridge. Commander Kieran Thale, her first officer, stood behind Juno, his expression as unreadable as ever. Dr. Isla Murrin, her eyes bright with an almost unsettling excitement, was already glued to the sensor feeds. Lieutenant A.O. Heron, usually boisterous, was unusually quiet, his jaw tight. "Report," Elara commanded, her voice steady. "Initial scans are clear," Thale replied, his tone measured. "No anomalies detected. Standard stellar readings." "For now," Elara muttered. The absence of anything unusual was, in itself, unusual. This far out, the cosmos was a chaotic tapestry of radiation flares, asteroid fields, and nebulae. To find a patch of space so utterly sterile was almost more alarming than finding a hostile alien armada. "Dr. Murrin." Isla turned, her gaze intense. "Nothing concrete yet, Captain. But I'm picking up, almost subaural frequencies. Too faint to register on standard sensors. I'm running it through my linguistic filters." "Keep me posted," Elara said, turning back to the main view screen. The black expanse of space stretched before them, a canvas dotted with distant stars. Somewhere within that void lay the answer to what happened to Prospector 1 and the Horizon Dawn. And she was determined to find it, even if it meant confronting the darkness that lurked within her own past. Chapter 1 Echoes in the Void. Days bled into weeks. The Valkyrie pressed deeper into the Vega sector, its sensors straining for any sign of the missing colony ships. Elara spent most of her time on the bridge, poring over sensor data, strategic simulations, and historical records. Thale kept her informed, his skepticism a constant counterpoint to Isla's fervent enthusiasm. A.O. worked tirelessly in engineering, his dedication fueled by the hope of finding his sister, a former xenobotanist, who served aboard Prospector 1. And Riva, ever vigilant, monitored the comms, searching for any whisper in the silence. The silence was the problem. It pressed in on them, heavy and oppressive. It was a silence that swallowed signals, choked communications, and silenced hope. Elara had never encountered anything like it. Then, one evening, as Elara was reviewing navigational charts, Riva's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain, I'm picking up something." A faint signal, almost like static. Elara straightened, her heart quickening. "Origin. Unknown, Captain. It's fluctuating, barely registering. But, it seems to be repeating a sequence. An obsolete frequency. One we haven't used in decades. The frequency used by the Prospector-class colony ships," Thale stated, his voice sharp. Isla gasped. "Captain, I need to hear this. Patch it through to the linguistics lab." Elara nodded. Do it. Riva, focus all comms arrays on that signal. Amplify it, stabilize it. I want to know what we're dealing with. Hours crawled by. The signal remained elusive, a fleeting ghost in the static. Isla worked tirelessly, her fingers flying across the holographic keyboard, her mind lost in a sea of data. Finally, as dawn broke on the Valkyrie, she straightened, her face pale but triumphant. Captain, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I've isolated the repeating sequence. Its coordinates. A set of spatial coordinates, broadcast using the Prospector 1's original navigation beacon. Elara felt a surge of adrenaline. Can you confirm the location? Isla nodded. Yes, Captain. But, it's within the Vega dead zone. The Vega dead zone. The anomaly. It hadn't been on any official maps, wasn't part of the mission parameters. It was a whispered legend, a dark corner of space where signals disappeared, ships vanished, and reality itself seemed to fray at the edges. Helm, Elara said, her voice firm. Plot a course to those coordinates. Maximum speed. Thale frowned. Captain, I must protest. We have no authorization to enter the dead zone. It's uncharted territory, potentially dangerous. We're here to find Prospector 1 and the Horizon Dawn, Commander, Elara countered, her gaze unwavering. That signal is our only lead. I'm not turning back now. But Captain, Ao interjected, his voice strained. The dead zone, if what they say is true, my sister. Elara placed a hand on his shoulder. I understand, Lieutenant. But we won't know anything until we get there. We'll proceed cautiously, with every precaution. But we will proceed. The Valkyrie plunged into the void, its shield shimmering as it entered the outer edges of the Vega dead zone. Almost immediately, the comms began to crackle and distort. Navigation systems flickered erratically. The stars seemed to dim, their light swallowed by the encroaching darkness. Report, Elara demanded, her voice tight. Sensors are going haywire, Captain, Riva reported, her fingers flying across the console. Gravitational fluctuations are off the charts. It's like, space itself is twisting around us. Maintain course, Elara ordered. And prepare for anything. As the Valkyrie ventured deeper into the dead zone, the air grew thick with an almost palpable sense of dread. The silence was no longer just an absence of sound, but an active force, pressing in on them, silencing their thoughts, stifling their fears. Then, on the main view screen, a shape emerged from the darkness. A vast, hulking silhouette, drifting silently through the void. Captain, Riva breathed, her voice barely a whisper. I'm getting a visual confirmation. It's Prospector 1. Chapter 2 The Ghost Ship. Prospector 1 hung motionless in the void, its once gleaming hull scarred and battered by countless impacts. It was a ghost ship, a relic of a forgotten dream. But surprisingly, its internal power was still active, casting a faint, ethereal glow from its portholes. Hail Prospector 1, Elara commanded. This is the UEF Valkyrie. Respond. Silence. Only the static crackle of the warped comms. No response, Captain, Riva confirmed, her face grim. Prepare a boarding party, Elara ordered. Thale, you're with me. Ao, you're in charge of securing the ship. Isla, I want you to analyze everything we find. The boarding shuttle detached from the Valkyrie and slowly approached Prospector 1. As they drew closer, Elara felt a prickling sensation on her skin, a sense of being watched. The silence was almost deafening. The shuttle docked with Prospector 1's primary airlock. The boarding party, armed and ready, stepped through the hatch and into the eerie silence of the derelict colony ship. The interior of Prospector 1 was pristine. Almost too pristine. The corridors were clean, the equipment was functional, the furniture was neatly arranged. It was as if the crew had simply vanished, leaving everything behind. "This is unsettling," Thale muttered, his hand resting on his sidearm. "Where is everyone?" "Spread out," Elara ordered. "Search every section of the ship. Report anything unusual." They moved through the ship, their footsteps echoing in the silence. They found the crew quarters, the mess hall, the hydroponics lab. All empty. All perfectly preserved. It was as if time itself had stood still on Prospector 1. Then, in the ship's bridge, Elara found something. The primary navigation console was still active, displaying a star chart of the Vega sector. But the logs were corrupted, fragmented, almost unreadable. "I can try to recover the data," Isla said, her fingers flying across the console. "But it's going to take time." "Do it," Elara said. "Anything we can learn about what happened here could be critical." Hours passed. Isla worked tirelessly, piecing together the fragmented logs. Finally, she straightened, her face pale. "Captain," she said, her voice hushed. "I've managed to recover a few lines of the last log entry. It's disturbing." She displayed the recovered text on the main view screen. One line stood out, stark and chilling. "We were never alone." A chill ran down Elara's spine. "What does it mean?" Isla shook her head. "I don't know, Captain. But it's not the only strange thing I've found. The ship's systems are looping a strange transmission. It's in an unknown dialect, unlike anything I've ever heard." "Can you decode it?" Elara asked. "I can try," Isla said. "But it could take weeks, months even." "We don't have that kind of time," Elara said. "We need to find out what happened to this ship, and what that message means. There has to be something else." She turned to Thale. "Commander, I want you to check the AI core. See if there's anything we can salvage." Thale nodded and headed towards the AI core, his expression grim. Elara stayed on the bridge, staring at the recovered log entry. "We were never alone." The words echoed in her mind, fueling her growing unease. Then, a scream echoed through the ship. Chapter 3: Whispers of Madness. The scream had come from the hydroponics lab. Elara and Thale rushed to the scene, their weapons drawn. They found Ao huddled in a corner, his face pale with terror. He was staring at a wall, his eyes wide with disbelief. "What happened?" Elara demanded, grabbing his shoulder. Ao didn't respond. He just pointed to the wall, his hand shaking. Elara followed his gaze. On the wall, etched in what appeared to be dried blood, were a series of symbols. Symbols that resembled nothing she had ever seen before. "What are those?" she asked. I don't know," Ao stammered. "But, they were not there before. I swear they weren't. Just a few minutes ago." Elara examined the symbols closely. They were intricate, almost hypnotic. They seemed to shift and writhe before her eyes. "Isla, get down here," she said over the comms. "We need you to take a look at something." Isla arrived a few minutes later, her face filled with concern. She examined the symbols, her brow furrowing. "These are fascinating," she said. "I've never seen anything like them. They're not based on any known language or symbol system. It's as if they emerged from nothing." "Can you decipher them?" Elara asked. "I can try," Isla said. "But it could take a very long time. They could be meaningless, or they could hold the key to everything that happened on this ship." As Isla studied the symbols, Elara felt a growing sense of unease. The ship felt different. Colder. More oppressive. She glanced at Thale, who was standing guard by the entrance to the lab, his expression grim. "Commander," she said quietly. "Have you noticed anything unusual?" Thale nodded slowly. "I have, Captain. I've been hearing things. Whispers. Just at the edge of my hearing." "Whispers?" Elara asked, her heart quickening. "What are they saying?" "I can't make out the words," Thale said. "But, they're unsettling. Like, the ship is trying to communicate with me." Elara felt a chill run down her spine. She had heard stories of ships that became haunted in deep space, ships that retained some residue of the trauma they had experienced. But she had always dismissed them as superstition. Now, she wasn't so sure. Then, a moment of blackness. A wave of nausea washed over her, and the world tilted on its axis. When she blinked, a few seconds had vanished. Elara gripped her head, trying to force the disorientation away. These blackouts had been occurring more frequently since entering the dead zone. Captain Thale asked, concerned. "Are you all right?" Elara straightened, forcing a smile. "I'm fine, Commander. Just a momentary lapse." But she wasn't fine. She was starting to doubt her own sanity. Was she imagining the whispers? Was the darkness playing tricks on her mind? Then, from the AI core, a shout. "Captain!" It was Thale, his voice urgent. "You need to see this." Elara rushed to the AI core, her weapon drawn. Thale was standing before the main console, his face pale with shock. "What is it?" Elara asked. Thale pointed to the console. "The AI core, it's not corrupted. It's been actively transmitting a signal. A powerful signal, directed towards the center of the dead zone." "What kind of signal?" Elara asked. "I don't know," Thale said. "But it's not data. It's more like a beacon. An invitation." Elara felt a cold dread grip her heart. The missing crew, the corrupted logs, the strange symbols, the eerie whispers, the AI signal, it all pointed to one thing. Prospector 1 had not been lost. It had been lured. Chapter 4. Across the threshold. The decision was agonizing. Elara huddled with Thale, Isla, and Ao in the Valkyrie's briefing room, the holographic star chart of the Vega dead zone shimmering before them. "We have to report this," Thale argued, his voice firm. "We have to warn Earth, alert the UEF command. This could be a trap, a threat unlike anything we've ever encountered." "I agree," Ao said, his face pale. "My sister, she wouldn't have willingly walked into this. Someone or something forced them." "I understand your concerns," Elara said, her voice measured. "But reporting this now would mean abandoning Prospector 1, abandoning any hope of finding survivors. And it would likely trigger a massive military response, potentially escalating the situation. If this is a trap, we could be walking into a war." "But Captain," Isla interjected, her eyes shining with excitement. "Think of the scientific implications. This signal, these symbols, this entire zone, it could represent a discovery of unimaginable importance. We can't just turn our backs on it." Elara sighed. She knew that Isla was right. But she also knew that Thale and Ao were right. The situation was incredibly dangerous. "We're not turning our backs on it," she said. "But we're not going in blind either. We need more information. We need to understand what's drawing Prospector 1 deeper into the dead zone. That's the only way we'll know if the situation is an active threat, or simply a complex anomaly. Once we truly know what has happened, then we will transmit our findings." But not before. And how do you propose we do that? Thale asked, his voice skeptical. We follow the signal, Elara said, her gaze unwavering. We take the Valkyrie into the dead zone and find out what's at the other end. Thale stared at her, his expression incredulous. Captain, that's insane. We could be walking into a death trap. We don't know what's waiting for us. I know, Elara said. But we have to try. We owe it to the crew of Prospector 1. We owe it to Lieutenant Heron's sister. And we owe it to humanity to find out what's lurking in the darkness. We will proceed cautiously, with every precaution. The decision was made. The Valkyrie prepared to venture deeper into the Vega dead zone. Ao and Isla focused on adjusting the ship's energy shields and long-range scanners. The crossing was harrowing. As the Valkyrie crossed the threshold into the heart of the dead zone, its systems buckled under the strain. Time seemed to warp, stretching and compressing in unpredictable ways. Hours passed in what felt like minutes, and minutes stretched into eternities. The ship groaned under the pressure, its lights flickering, its hull vibrating. Report, Elara demanded, her voice strained. Systems are failing, Captain, Reva reported, her fingers flying across the console. Warp drive is offline. Shields are fluctuating wildly. Communications are completely down. Maintain course, Elara ordered. We're almost there. Then, on the main view screen, a shape emerged from the darkness. A shape that was both familiar and alien. A shape that sent a chill down Elara's spine. It was another colony ship. The Horizon Dawn. But it was not alone. Chapter 5: The Merging. The Horizon Dawn was locked in an unnatural embrace. The ship was partially merged with a massive, alien structure. A structure that looked like it had grown around the ship, engulfing it in a web of organic tendrils and crystalline formations. What is that? Ao breathed, his voice filled with awe and horror. I don't know, Elara said. But it's not natural. Prepare to engage defensive systems. The Valkyrie approached the scene cautiously, its weapons trained on the merged ship and structure. As they drew closer, they could see that the alien structure was not static. It was pulsing, throbbing, almost alive. I'm picking up biosignatures, Isla said, her voice trembling. There are lifeforms inside the Horizon Dawn. But they're different. Their physiology is completely altered. Altered how? Elara asked. I can't explain it, Captain, Isla said. It's as if they've been integrated with the alien structure. Their DNA is hybridized. Elara felt a surge of disgust. The crew of the Horizon Dawn had not simply vanished. They had been transformed. Subverted. Hail the Horizon Dawn, she ordered. This is the UEF Valkyrie. Respond. A long, agonizing silence. Then, a voice crackled over the comms. A voice that was both human and alien. A voice that sent a shiver down Elara's spine. Welcome, travelers, the voice said. We have been expecting you. Who are you? Elara demanded. What have you done to the crew of the Horizon Dawn? We have shown them the way, the voice said. We have opened their minds to the truth. We have shown them the path to enlightenment. Enlightenment? Elara scoffed. You've turned them into monsters. We have elevated them, the voice said. We have made them part of something greater. Something eternal. What do you want? Elara asked. We want to share our gift with you, the voice said. We want to show you the way. We want to make you one with us. Elara felt a surge of anger. These creatures, whatever they were, had destroyed the crew of the Horizon Dawn. They had twisted them into something grotesque and unnatural. And now, they wanted to do the same to her crew. Never, she said, her voice filled with steel. We will never join you. We will never become like you. The voice chuckled. You have no choice. You are already here. You are already being changed. The dead zone, it is our domain. It is where we exert our influence on all things we encounter. Our invitation has been extended. You were drawn here for a reason. We have been watching. Then, the Horizon Dawn's weapons systems activated. A barrage of energy blasts slammed into the Valkyrie, shaking the ship violently. Evasive maneuvers. Elara shouted. Return fire. The Valkyrie engaged the Horizon Dawn in a desperate battle, its weapons blazing. But the alien structure seemed to be absorbing the energy blasts, rendering them ineffective. Our weapons are useless. AO shouted. Their shields are impenetrable. Elara cursed. They were outgunned, outmatched, and trapped. We need to find a weakness, she said. There has to be some way to disable that structure. I'm detecting a powerful energy source deep inside the structure, Isla said. It's like a central nexus. If we could disrupt it. How do we get to it? Elara asked. I don't know, Isla said. But I'm detecting a series of tunnels and passages within the structure. If we could infiltrate it. Elara knew that it was a long shot. But it was their only chance. Prepare a boarding party, she said. We're going inside. Chapter 6 The Watchers Beneath Light. Elara, Thale, Ao, and Isla, armed to the teeth, boarded a small shuttle and launched towards the alien structure. As they approached, they could see the grotesque details of the structure up close. It was a nightmarish tapestry of organic tendrils, crystalline formations, and pulsating membranes. The shuttle entered one of the tunnels, its lights illuminating the dark, twisting passages. The air was thick with a strange, metallic scent. The walls seemed to breathe, to writhe. This is disturbing, Thale muttered, his hand resting on his weapon. I don't like this at all. Stay focused, Elara ordered. We need to find that energy source. They moved deeper into the structure, their footsteps echoing in the silence. They passed through chambers filled with strange, pulsating orbs, and corridors lined with writhing tendrils. Then, they encountered the crew of the Horizon Dawn. Or what was left of them. They were grotesque figures, their bodies twisted and warped, their skin fused with the alien structure. Their eyes were vacant, their minds lost. Don't engage, Elara ordered. They're no longer human. They're just puppets. But one of the figures lunged at them, its hand outstretched, its eyes filled with a strange, alien light. We must show you the way, it croaked, its voice a distorted echo of its former self. We must make you one with us. Ao reacted instinctively, firing his weapon. The figure fell to the ground, its body convulsing. I'm sorry, Ao whispered, his face filled with remorse. I didn't have a choice. They continued their journey, their hearts heavy with sorrow. They were fighting not just an alien entity, but the ghosts of their own humanity. Finally, they reached the heart of the structure. A vast chamber filled with a blinding light. In the center of the chamber, a massive, crystalline structure pulsed with energy. That's it, Isla said, her voice trembling. That's the energy source. How do we disable it? Elara asked. I don't know, Isla said. But I have a theory. The structure seems to be resonating at a specific frequency. If we could disrupt that frequency. How do we do that? Elara asked. I need to recalibrate the Valkyrie's energy cannons, Isla said. I need to focus them on a specific point on the crystalline structure. But it will take time. We don't have time, Elara said. We need to do something now. She looked around the chamber, her mind racing. There had to be something they could use. Then, she saw it. A small, exposed conduit, running along the base of the crystalline structure. "Ao," she said. "Can you overload that conduit?" Ao examined the conduit, his brow furrowing. "I can try," he said. "But it's risky. It could trigger a chain reaction, destroying the entire structure." "That's the point," Elara said. "Do it." Ao nodded and began to work, his fingers flying across his tools. The chamber filled with the sounds of sparks and crackling energy. Then, with a final surge, the conduit overloaded. The crystalline structure began to glow, its light intensifying. "Everyone, brace yourselves!" Elara shouted. The chamber filled with a blinding light. The structure began to shake, to crumble. Then, with a deafening roar, it exploded. Chapter 7: The Price of Freedom. The explosion ripped through the alien structure, tearing it apart. The Horizon Dawn was freed from its unnatural embrace. The Valkyrie, battered but not broken, limped away from the wreckage. But the victory came at a price. The explosion had damaged the Valkyrie's AI core, crippling its systems. And the disruption of the alien structure had unleashed a strange energy wave that washed over the ship. Elara felt the effects immediately. Her mind was bombarded with images, with sensations. She saw visions of alien worlds, of ancient civilizations, of cosmic horrors beyond human comprehension. She staggered, her head throbbing. The experimental neural tech she'd had installed years ago, designed to enhance strategic thinking, was now malfunctioning, amplified by the energy wave. She collapsed to the floor, unconscious. When she awoke, she was in the Valkyrie's med bay. Isla was sitting by her side, her face filled with concern. "Captain," Isla said, her voice hushed. "You're awake. Thank God." "What happened?" Elara asked, her voice weak. "You were hit by the energy wave," Isla said. "It overloaded your neural implants. You've been unconscious for days." "Days?" Elara asked, her heart quickening. "What about the ship? What about the crew?" "The ship is damaged, but functional," Isla said. "Ao is working tirelessly to repair the AI core. Thale is maintaining order. Everyone is safe." "And the Horizon Dawn?" Elara asked. "It's adrift, but intact," Isla said. "We've managed to stabilize the survivors, but their condition is delicate. They'll require extensive rehabilitation." Elara sighed. The mission had been a success, but it had come at a terrible cost. They had saved the crew of the Horizon Dawn, but they had lost something in. Wanderer of Worlds, if you enjoyed this tale, hit like, share, and subscribe. Each gesture weaves a stronger nexus. Until our paths cross again, let your curiosity guide you forward.